Hello and welcome back to the Balance Training and Coaching channel. My name is Kurt and welcome to another video in the series. Today I want to make a video for someone who shall now be called Tiffany, who worked with me on a course about a week ago, and the course was on assertiveness generally in the workplace. And Tiffany, at one point, as you're aware, you asked a very particular question related to your manager, and therefore here is the response to your question. I have 6 or 7 items for you, and hopefully at least 2 or 3 of them will be things that you can use to help you in your endeavours with that conversation that you want to have with your boss, your manager. Now, for the general public that are also watching, just to clarify, this is not a comprehensive coverage of the topic or the discipline. The idea of these videos is to answer very particular questions and offer a small palette of things that you can try out to help you achieve what you're looking to achieve. If you are watching and you feel, well, it hasn't really answered my question, let me know if you want to, and I will happily make you another video or videos to help you get what you need. Okay, so do please get in touch. That said, let's get started, and yes, we'll see where we go. Therefore, obviously I'm not going to divulge the particular conversation that you had, Tiffany at company Q, but we're both cognizant of what this is about in particular, and therefore the first thing I would like to invite you to consider is the following. Is something that I call the assertive spine. Now, the good news actually with this is that I've already made a video on this and it's on the channel. So Tiffany, can I please invite you, when you get 5 minutes or so, check out the video on this, because it pertains very much so to what you're asking about. Your question, as you know, was and still is it okay for me to be assertive with my manager? This is extremely important in relation to that. So, like I said, check out the video and I will reference it in the next few minutes. And therefore, yeah, let's jump straight to it. In answer to your question, of course, essentially, yes, of course it is. There are certain conditions that come with it, and an obvious example of that is how you go about it, clearly. But yes, unless you work in a total dictatorship, of course you can, and it's not only part of the manager's role to manage and receive these types of conversations, equally it's in the manager's interest as well, because if she or he has interested members of staff, that generally is great for them, you know. Most managers want proactive staff members. It's also in their interest in terms of their job too, because of course, for example, succession planning, when they're trying to fill positions, when people leave or get promoted, anything that can make that process easier, quicker, simpler, more peaceful, they're interested. And therefore, your question therefore leads to this answer in those 2 particular respects. You can reframe it if you like. This is something I mentioned quite a bit. You could reframe this situation if you like, and by this, by the way, I don't mean denial, and I don't mean having a myopic view, a blinkered view, ignoring certain realities. It's not about that. It's about accurate ways of seeing situations. You could do a reframe on this if you like, and rather than have the frame of, oh my God, my manager's going to hate me for having this conversation, you can reframe it in something along the lines of, well, on the conditions that I am appropriate in how I go about it, this could be of potential benefit to my manager as well. So yes, I would say, Tiffany, if you want to still, have the conversation. Now, of course, a key feature of how you go about it is how you conduct yourself personally, physically, in terms of your body language, your tonal delivery, your language, your attitude, and so on. And you'll notice that these are covered on the assertive spine. Now, you will also recall that when we ran simulations of that conversation with the actors that were on the course, we noticed that in terms of your attitude, it was absolutely fine. It was very professional. Your eye contact was very appropriate as well. Your tonal delivery mostly was fine, just in a couple of places it was a bit hesitant, and that just slightly weakened your proposition. And then, as you know, we reran them, and then your tonal delivery was more confident. Your body language was fine, it was very open, with one exception when it came to the point where you were asking the crunch question, so to speak. Sorry to be cryptic with the rest of the viewing public. You just closed up. Your body language closed, and you looked down, and you looked away, and it just again really weakened your proposition. We reran that as well, as you know, and then you learn to keep your body language open and maintain that appropriate level of eye contact. And your language was also very good, with the exception of a couple of sentences were a bit too passive. E.g., at one point you said, I was wondering if it might be possible, no problem if not, but is it possible sometime maybe to da-da-da-da-da. So there's a lot of possible maybe, and it was all very weak. And we looked at that too. Now, I've got something for you on language in a moment in relation to that, so hold on. But in terms of behavioural style, if we imagine there are 4 styles, so there's aggressive, passive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. As you're aware, because it was a course on assertiveness, we need to be assertive and of course we don't want to be aggressive or passive-aggressive or inappropriately passive. So, as you know, that's one of the big concerns with going about this, is that your behavioural style needs to be appropriate, it needs to be assertive. We've covered that in the course, and by the way, for the general viewing public, on the assertive spine I also have a definition from the Oxford English Dictionary, which is where I tend to get all my definitions from, on what assertive and assertiveness actually is. So do feel free to check that video too. Okay. There is also a video on the channel now called Strengthening. I believe it's in 2 parts, and it's specifically on language. And again, I can send you, Tiffany, more handouts on this if you like, because I try to keep it to 1 page, maybe 2. I handed out 2 pages to you on assertive phrases and assertive language. So again, do feel free to run with those if you wish. And to supplement your work on this, I would thoroughly recommend that you watch the video on strengthening, because I give very specific examples of language that you can use, prefixes, the odd phrase or 2, questions and statements, to ensure that when you have a conversation with your manager, you're doing it in a professional fashion, i.e. an appropriate fashion. You'll recall on the course that we did, and these are in the handouts as well, as you know, that phrases such as I need or it's important that and so on the condition that the tonal delivery is okay, the body language is okay, etc., the context as well. These can be very useful phrases to ensure that you're getting your point across whilst not being aggressive or passive-aggressive or passive.